You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. Totally. And how are you, stupid bitch?
I'm good, stupid bitch. And how are
I'm
you?
good. I'm good. Just finishing up
Happy to be here.
shit. Yeah, happy to be here as well. Kicking off a little later tonight, but that's fine. We'll try and not do we'll try and finish around the same time as we did last week without having a
Let's
2 hour pop
go.
culture episode
I
to
think
edit.
the wine influenced that, but I have to say that I'm feeling a little bit rosy cheeked already after my couple of
Yeah.
sips while I was waiting for you. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good for us to be sober throughout the
By
second
the end of it.
recording.
Yay. Yeah, it was fun to edit that one. I was like, oh God. You should have seen it when because I split it, obviously, when you do the cutting it bits out and shit. There was like just when you minimize it and see the whole reel in one go, there was just about 30 splits throughout the whole fucking thing. Edit, delete, edit. What are we talking about? Delete. And welcome everybody to this week's episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, our Aussie
Cheers, people.
podcast about
Cheers,
everything,
cheers.
cheers, and nothing, but always with booze. And tonight we're doing a little different coloured wine each.
Oh my God. Well, I drank red both recordings last week.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
think one I'm going through my red phase.
Yes.
So I think the whole of last year I was on the whites pretty much exclusively.
Yeah.
And now I'm just banging on the reds.
Yeah, I know.
I think I find that when I drink white, it goes down like water.
Yep.
And before I know it, I've drunk a whole bottle. The red, I'm like, I can sit on a glass for a good half an hour, you
20
know.
minutes.
Depends on the time of the night and how
Yeah.
many previous glasses I've had.
Yeah, no, I do Panga Red as well, but as I've been complaining about, our red rack is empty. Though I did get a good pair delivery today, and you can see up the back,
Lovely.
got the 6 bottles of bubbles ready for Sunday morning.
I can. Well, I was going to
Yeah.
talk about that in How's Your Week Been, actually, but
Well,
that was going to
this
be in next episode.
nice. This will be well after the Eurovision, but it's
Yes,
still
yes, yes,
living
yes.
large in our hearts right now. And this week it's true crime anywhere.
Yes, yes, true crime anywhere.
And I have a real heartbreaker downer of
I'm
a
so scared when you
story.
messaged me that. I'm so scared because do you know what one I'm still not over is, the woman that was ended up, what was the one? The one where it was probably in the 50s, I think, and she kept being found and she was saying that the guy
Oh, was that in
was
the
after
Canadian one?
her. I think so.
Yeah.
And no one believed her, but she was found with drugs in her system
And her hands tied behind her
and her
back and
hands
shit.
tied behind her back.
And they thought that she did it herself still.
Yeah,
Suicide.
and it happened like multiple times. And then she was found dead, and they said
Yeah.
that she had killed herself, and then they never investigated anything. That one haunts me, man. It haunts me.
Mm,
That poor woman.
I know. The 50s, hey? We thought the 80s were bad.
Yeah, fucking hell.
So, are we doing your drinking first? Yeah. What are you drinking, you dumb bitch?
I'm waiting for you to ask me this.
What are you constantly
Um,
drinking?
what I'm drinking, okay, is a cheeky little cab sav from Coonawarra. What's with the
Oh, the Coonawarra
Coonawarras?
region.
What's in town with the Coonawarra? It's called Cat Nook, not to be
Oh,
confused with Katniss Everdeen. It's
or
Cat
pussy
Nook.
nook.
Cat Nook Squires. It's a 2020. I
Oh,
know. Oh,
that's crazy.
the
Because
husband got this for me.
when did we start this podcast? 2021.
2021. It was. Yeah,
So
yeah.
when we were doing 2020s back then, it was like just in the, a toddler. Now
Yeah.
well, they were infants, but now they're full grown toddlers.
I know
Wow.
they're toddlers. Wow,
Oh,
wow,
time
wow.
flies.
I guess it's a sign of the times because isn't there this whole thing where we can't export our wine or something, and
Oh
they're having
God.
to like dump a lot of it at the moment because there's all
Why would you
these rules
dump
about
it?
exporting it. Well, they can't. I don't think they can sell it enough, so that's really why we're sitting on older bottles
Give
because
us a fucking bargain. I'll
they
buy it off you.
can't export as much. Um, but yeah, look, it's lovely. It's cooler weather, so I am enjoying the reds. It's sweater weather.
Sweater weather. Sweater weather.
Pissing myself about sweater weather. So yeah, it's lovely. But I see that we have indeed switched places, and
We
you are
have.
drinking a cheeky little white, which, oh, sorry if there's a bit of a weird sound on my mic.
There it totally is. You should just pick it up.
I know, but then I thought it would fall over.
You dumb bitch.
Sorry, listeners. So yeah, what are you drinking, you stupid bitch?
So I'm drinking Strange Friends, which I think is appropriate.
Oh, is that a leopard I see?
Yeah, a cheetah
Or a
and
cheetah?
a
A
cheetah and a
cheetah.
person.
Oh, I really like that.
It's a Savvy Bee. This is a good pair of days.
I would
Savvy
definitely
Bee
pick that up off the shelf and be like, oh, lovely bottle.
from the Adelaide Hills region, and it's a 2023. So I've gone back to my infant stage with my wines tonight.
Well, I want to do a shout out because I've just had a whole bunch of new work listeners start listening to the podcast. So if you're there, hi guys.
Hey, Skye's work listeners.
Welcome.
She's a dumb bitch, isn't she? You can tell me. I know.
Send us some feedback.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And how's your week been?
Week has been good. I've made some notes. Let me refer to my notes about how's my week been. Okay, so I just mentioned that my husband went and got my reds today. But I came home to a little wee surprise. So on a Friday afternoon, my husband Tyler heads off to football, and often I am always working late. So we usually are just like, ships in the night. Sometimes we see each other on a Friday afternoon before he leaves and as I'm getting home, or sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
So as I came home, so when I'm driving like Wynnum Road, so I need to explain this better because no one knows what Wynnum Road is. So I live on a main road and you have to do a U-E to come back to my house.
Yes.
And when you do a U-E is right where my house is almost. But I have to do that so I can come back and get in my driveway. And as I was on the other lane driving away from my house, I drove past my house and I saw my husband out the front with one of his mates who'd come to pick him up from football. And I was turning into the UE lane to do a U-turn to come back to the house. And I wound the window down because I thought he was just getting into the car. So I started screaming out, baby, baby!
It's me.
So that he would
Does the
wait.
sound go down when you talk, like when you go loud with baby? Goes down in my ear.
Oh, does it? Because it's adjusting.
It's like, whoa.
It must be adjusting. It's like too loud, too loud, too loud. So I'm screeching out the window, and all his mates. Well, there was a couple of mates in the yard that were all going to football. And his mate was moving the car. I thought he was starting to drive off, and Tyler was just getting in, but he was actually moving it because they had seen my car. And he had moved it so I could get in the driveway because it was parked a little bit over the driveway. Anyway, so we managed to see each other for 2 or 3 minutes before he went off on his way. But then I came upstairs, and on the perfectly clean kitchen bench, so he'd cleaned the house for me, which is my favorite thing coming home on a Friday is when the house is spotless, was a little love letter. And a snack-sized packet of peanut M&Ms and 3 Ferrero shares, a little packet of 3 Ferrero shares, and a little letter saying, "Hey, baby, I love you. I hope you had a great day. I miss you, and I'll see you tonight."
Nice.
Because he thought he wouldn't see me this afternoon, but he actually did see me just very, very briefly, and I came up to that. So it was very, very sweet.
Oh, that is cute. I remember when I used to get little love letters.
5 years today we've been together. Can you believe that?
Yes, congratulations. Happy day I met you versary.
Yeah, so Facebook official. 5 years ago we were.
Wow.
Nearly married for 2 years at the end of this month.
It was 14 years for our day I met you in June, on the 12th of June this year.
Oh, really? I don't have a day I met you, actually, because, we'd known each other for a while before we had, done the
carnal.
deed.
Is it carnal?
Gotten into it, if you will, or gotten into each other.
Sins of the flesh.
So I don't know the day. I don't know what our anniversary date is for that.
Facebook official is a good one.
Yeah. So What was the other thing that I wanted to talk about? Actually, do you know what? I had points for this episode. Actually, I thought it was the next one. So, obviously, this podcast won't come out for a little while now, but it is Eurovision on Sunday. So. I messaged my husband today and I said, look, I need a couple of bottles of red, but if you've got time this afternoon, do you mind going to the First Choice, which is where if we're going to buy bulk booze, we go to the First Choice because we get all the Flybuys discounts.
Yeah.
Sound like
No,
you
no.
now, don't I?
Well, I like the everyday rewards. I totally understand.
We do both. So, and look, they just have a better selection of all the wines
It's a big
anyway.
warehouse type one, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was like, if you've got time to go to the First Choice, get me the 2 bottles of red, but you may as well get Sunday's booze while you're there because we're going to be pushed for time tomorrow with football commitments and yada, yada, yada. So I gave him a list of the things which I shared with you today.
Yes.
And listeners are going to be like, what the fuck when they hear that?
It's like Christmas.
Whilst some of it will be drunk at home, most of it is for Sunday. So my order read the 2 bottles of Cab Sav for tonight, a 6-pack, so 6 bottles, a half a case of Mudhouse Sav B, because that's my fave, and I like to have the Savvy B in the fridge at home. A case of beer, a 4-pack of seltzer, half a case of Prosecco, Brita, if you will. So that's
very
another
good.
6 bottles of wine. And
that's
then
our
I
Eurovision
said,
special, isn't it?
That is our Eurovision special. And then I said, whatever you want to drink on Sunday when you get over drinking bubbles and you don't feel like beer. So he came home with 2 6-packs, 6 bottles of wine. So 12 bottles of wine, a case of beer, another 2 bottles of red, a 4-pack of seltzer for me, and a bottle of wild turkey for him for Sunday.
So he needed the trolley.
Now, the only thing that we're not going to drink between now and Sunday at whatever point we stop drinking is maybe a 6-pack of that beer, maybe a little bit of the wild turkey, and the Mudhouse. The rest of it will be Lodzinski's.
What about the between now and the end of Sunday?
Yes.
So
the 6 bottles of Mudhouse were just for the fridge at home.
Nice.
But all the rest will be gone by Sunday.
Yeah.
By the time I get to drink with you fuckers. So how's your week been, you stupid bitch?
The week's been good. It's been a bit chaotic, but good. We're here on the Friday night now. Busy weekend ahead. We're doing our car service tomorrow. Got a birthday party tomorrow night, and then Survivor Eurovision, which will be like an episode of Survivor, I'm sure. There'll be alliances, there'll be challenges, there'll be people getting voted out.
Last year,
betrayals.
Last year it ended with Tyler and Vinny absolutely fed up with the 2 of us.
Yeah.
We watched both of our wedding videos. And you and I were just sort of wrapped together on the couch, just like slathering at each other and playing stuff on YouTube. And the boys at Vinny was like, Glee. I'd like to go.
Put
and
on Tyler's Glee specials.
I think we need to go to bed. I think it was like crazy. 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. or something.
Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit earlier, but it was.
Maybe it was.
Because I think it was still daylight when we left. And I mean, when you start at 5,
it's
a big day.
That's it.
But I did want to mention, so in our pop culture episode, when we did characters, you did Anna Green Gables and I did the Taylor love triangle. So I've got a couple of updates quickly for that. Last Saturday night, Vinny and I had a few beverages and we put on
as you do.
As we do, we put on the Eras tour again. We're just obsessed with it. So we watched that.
Hell, how many times
3 hours
watch that?
Singing. Oh my God. Vinny had gone out for drinks with a friend earlier. So he came back drunk. And when you're on that different level, and so you sort of.
Oh yeah, been there.
Yeah. So, and he's just sat on the couch. He's like, wow. The whole time. So we watched the Eras tour again, and then Vinny passed out, and I put on the Folklore special, which is on Disney as well. And the Folklore special was made during COVID. Taylor is in her house or something ponds, and she's recording the album in the house because she couldn't do it because of COVID in the studio. And she talks about the song with a couple of people that are there that contribute to the album, and then you see her perform the song. It's actually really, really good.
Oh, that's the one you showed me last week with Bon Iver.
Iver, yes.
Yeah.
So something I thought you'd really like is the guitarist from The National, isn't it? And he collaborated with Taylor on this album. And I just saw that after Googling it because she mentions during the thing how much she loves The National. And it made me think of Skye. You either love The National or you don't love The National.
You either love the National or you don't understand the
Oh, you don't
National.
understand The National. So I thought you'd like that they're involved in this folklore album.
Well, I
And
know that because they also have collaborations on their latest album, The National. So
yes,
there's at least 3 songs that they've collaborated together that I'm aware of. And I'm not sure if they are the same on the folklore or not, but there's 3 on their recent album with her.
that's right. So what I found because I did a quick Google
All
today
great
to make
songs, all
sure
really good songs, actually. I really enjoy those songs.
the ones that I Googled what I found when I Googled today. So, but before knowing that, and while I was watching it, I thought before I knew about the Tyler thing, I was watching the National thing, and I was watching it. I thought, you know what? I actually really think you and Tyler would dig this folklore special. It's only an hour and a
Oh, Tyler
half.
loves Taylor. He loves her.
Um,
He's not like you guys. But he bangs out a bit of Taylor from time to time.
yeah, well, it's just a really good special, and it obviously has the love triangle that I reported on in our
Of course, of
um,
course.
podcast episode. And she also recorded the song with the National, the Alcott, I think
I
it's
love the
called.
Alcott. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
so
great
that's with
song.
her.
The thing about the National, though, you do have to, it's a grower. You've really got to have it on your playlist. That's how I became obsessed with them is I put a few songs on my playlist because years and years and years ago. And I remember the first few times I listened to them going, ooh, no, I'm not really into this. And then they stuck on my playlist and I'd skip past them a few times. And then before I knew it, I was like just finding everything National and I had a
Yeah,
playlist that was
obsessed.
just the National
Yeah,
and became absolutely obsessed. So you've got to
yeah,
give it a few goes to really love it.
to get into it. And as you were saying before too, the Exile version's on there with Bon Iver. And when I was Googling about him too today, I just realized when searching that he was the one who did the original, or that band was the one who did the original Skinny Love.
Yes,
Yeah, I
totally.
didn't know that.
Because a chick called Little Birdie, I think her name was.
Birdie.
Birdie,
Birdie.
that's it.
Yeah.
She came out, and again, actually, to be fair, that is how I got onto the National because I
Oh,
listened to
wow.
her music, and I got onto Bon Iver from that as well. I listened to
One of
her
her.
music and thought she was the original artist, and I remember
Yes.
talking to one of our friends at a party one time, Hutch's husband, and I was talking to him about it, and he was like, they're all covers. And I went, what?
That
He's
doesn't
like,
surprise me that Bevan would love Bon Iver. Bon
and he
Iver.
was like, Skye, they're covers. Every single song on that album of Birdie is a cover of a different song. And I was like, what? So then I had to figure out who they were. And that's
Yeah,
how I got onto
you
the
found out.
National.
Um,
Her versions are excellent. Really
yes.
good.
Oh, yeah, I do love her version. And things I wanted to clear up that I didn't know about, and we spoke about in the Taylor love triangle. James is in fact a boy, because Taylor says that about James being a guy, and
Yes.
in her head, James ends up with Betty in the end, so they do end up together in the end. And another thing I wanted to quickly correct myself about was during our pop culture episode, I think it was the Arnie quotes one, and I kept talking about that show that Rudolph was, and I was saying during that episode how she appeared on the Hot Shots chicken wing thing, but it's actually called Hot Ones. So I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, that it was hot ones and not hot wings.
And Hot Shots and all these things that I was saying.
Because we also stayed up quite late watching
Yes, a few
multiple
of those.
episodes of Hot
We
Wings.
watched Jenny and Me too, didn't we?
Oh,
Jenny
yeah.
and Me. Wiping your scream on each other's noses.
Well, I was trying to convince Tyler to watch The Running Man, but he wouldn't. And I was going to save
Wouldn't
this
he?
for the next episode, but I've got enough for How's Your Week Been for next episode anyway. But we actually did go on the whole Terminator journey. So when we were talking, neither of us had seen Dark Fate, which is the final one.
Right, yeah, I haven't
And
seen that.
I
Yeah.
hadn't seen the third one with Claire Danes in,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we both agreed that Genesis we had watched and enjoyed. So we went, and then the Christian Bale one as well. Like, and we both said, and you hadn't seen it, and I hadn't seen it. So it was Terminator 1, original, T2, then it's the third one, which
Terminator
has
3.
something about fate in
Rise.
it as well. Oh no,
Oh, yeah.
that's Rise of the Machines, I
Is
think.
it? Yeah.
Because
Or is
that's
that
the
the
chick.
Christian?
That's the Christian Bale one, I think. which has Sam Worthington in it as well, who's excellent in it.
No, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Oh, okay. And then the fourth one is the Christian Bale one?
Salvation.
Salvation, yes. And is it Sam Worthington? Oh, I always get them confused. Sam, who's the one who's married to Lara Bingle? Is that Sam Worthington? I get him confused with Joel Egerton, and Tyler gets really cranky with me because I
They are
always
very
get them mixed
similar.
up. Yes, and
It is
similar
Sam
type
Worthington.
acting.
Sam Worthington.
So
Oh,
Tyler
Helena
gets
Bonham Carter's in it too.
yes, she was in it, but it was actually really good. I don't know how you feel about Christian Bale, but I did thoroughly enjoy it.
Okay.
Then watch Genesis again. Tyler really struggled with Genesis.
It's a bit cheesy, but
I loved it. I've
liked it
seen
too.
it
I enjoyed
before,
it.
and then I watched it again. Absolutely loved it. So Genesis is a retake of all the Terminators together, and it's like a retelling. So,
because Dark Fate, it said, was a sequel only to T2.
correct. Yes, that's right. So, Dark Fate was very, very good. But I enjoyed them all. Every single one I actually thoroughly loved.
Okay.
So, if
Well,
you're going to
Tyler,
do the
get
saga,
onto Running Man. You'll like it. It's good fun.
well, he hasn't heard the Terminator episode yet either. So I think once he hears it, he
Might get
will.
a bit more intrigued.
Yes, because that's coming out next Tuesday.
No. Next Tuesday,
Oh,
the
next Tuesday's
characters.
Anna Green Gables.
Yeah.
And
We're well ahead of our recording, above
yes,
ahead of
that's right.
Shedge.
It is too. It is too. Now
Yeah.
we're doing another pod. Now we're
Another
doing another true
two.
crime, another pop culture.
So should we get into it? Are you ready? There's no little, well, there is a pig in this,
Yeah.
but no little piggies, stinky
I'm still
piggies.
terrified. I'm very, very scared and worried.
So this one's called the Bible Belt Massacre.
Ooh,
and
it already sounds really awful.
yeah, I will acknowledge news.com.au into the Foxtel special that I watched for getting most of my information on this. But are you ready? On the 29th of December, 1999. How old are
I
you?
was 19 and you were 29.
You dumb bitch. I was 22. Laura Bible
Were you though? Were you?
and Ashley Freeman were celebrating Ashley's 16th birthday with the slumber party at Ashley's parents' trailer. Laura, or Lauria, there's an I before the A, Lauria. She was 16 as well, swung by her parents' place earlier that day to ask if she could stay over. Her dad, Jay, reminded her to be back by noon the next day to tend to their family's animals, which included a pig. And it was nowhere near Port Coquitlam. They settled in at the Freeman's place, nestled along a road in Welch, Oklahoma, about 10 kilometers south of the Kansas state line. For most folks in this tiny farming community of around 600 people, it was just another quiet night. But little did they know, darker currents were stirring in Oklahoma's northeast. The next morning brought an alarming sight for a couple heading to work, smoke billowing from the Freeman's home. Firefighters rushed in, hoping to find survivors outside or needing rescue, but the fire was fierce. The home was engulfed beyond entry. The sheriff of Craig County at the time noted it seemed suspicious, this inferno that tore through the house. Jay and Lorraine Bible, Lauria's parents, received a frantic call about the fire and hurried to the scene. They arrived to hear that a female body had been found inside, but they had to endure 5 agonizing hours outside the crime tape before they could receive any confirmation.
Wow.
Lauria's car sat parked on the property, but for the worried couple arriving, there was no clarity of her fate.
So there's just one woman's body found.
That's what they've said. They found one body's woman. So in this camper van, there was, well, staying there the night, there was Lauria, her friend Ashley, Ashley's parents, and Lauria. Lauria's car sat parked on the property, but we've said that. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, stumbling in the initial steps of the case, surprise, kept everyone in suspense until the medical examiner showed up at 2 p.m. The medical examiner, familiar with the Bibles, unofficially informed them that the deceased woman wore a wedding band, had broad shoulders, and was larger than the girls. So it was likely Kathy Freeman's body. Not the Kathy Freeman, it's Kathy with a K. Her report filed that fateful evening of December 30th dropped
Kathy
a
Freeman
bombshell.
being the mother.
Yes. Kathy had been killed. So that when they filed the medical report, they said that Kathy had been killed before the fire by a shotgun blast to the back of her head.
Fuck.
And at this point, she was the only body found amidst the wreckage. With missing Danny Freeman now in the spotlight as the prime suspect, locals whispered about his known anger issues. Some even speculated about his involvement in drug dealing, including cannabis and possibly methamphetamines. Yet, baffling, despite 3 people still being unaccounted for, the State Bureau released the crime scene from the police custody at 6 p.m. the next day. So on the 30th of December. So even though they still don't know where 3 people are, they found one body. They've said at 6 p.m. the day that they went and put the fire out, no, it's okay. You guys, we're releasing it from a crime scene now. We don't need to do any further investigations of the scene.
Just after Christmas too. Oh.
Yeah. The following morning, Jay and Lorraine Bible, their hearts heavy with worry, arrived at the charred remains of the Freeman farm. So now that it's released, they're able to just go to the farm. So they've gone again the next day, desperate for any clue about their daughter's whereabouts. In mere moments, their search turned grim as they stumble upon another body, clearly overlooked amidst the chaos of the previous day's investigation.
No.
Yeah.
What
Even
about searching the perimeter and,
they found it in the wreck where the fire was, where they'd done the investigation and found the female's body.
Mama.
So even with the upper part of the head missing, Lorraine immediately knew it was Danny, the father. She could make out his grey sweatpants, flannel shirt, and white t-shirt, and there were boot marks streaked down his torso, evidence of people walking over the top of him the day before. While the police were doing their investigation, they've walked over this body, lying there all along in plain sight. They couldn't fathom how such a glaring oversight had occurred.
I can't fathom that. That is gross misconduct.
They've gone back the next day and they've seen it straight away after the police have released the crime scene.
Fucking hell.
I know. So Lorraine called 911 immediately to alert them. Meanwhile, Danny's brother, Dwayne, arrived and spotted stainless steel wire in Danny's sinus cavity. And knowing that Danny had undergone reconstructive surgery with such wire, he didn't hesitate to confirm the identity. He knew it was his brother.
Right.
Authorities returned to the Freeman property, attempting to regain control of the chaotic crime scene. The medical examiner determined Danny Freeman had also been shot, this time in the face. Instead of considering that whoever shot the couple might have the girls, the State Bureau now suggested that the girls were in hiding. Refusing to leave, the Bible stayed put at the crime scene. Local groups began arriving, joining in the search across the property and beyond for any sign of the missing girls. Jane and Lorraine sifted through the trailer's ashes, finding no trace of their daughters, only personal items left behind to confirm that they hadn't left willingly. So they found Lauria's car keys, her purse, a cash, and an ID. Can you even imagine having to sift through a crime scene ashes because you couldn't trust the State Bureau to fucking
Or even the
do their job?
incompetence that they would allow civilians to do that, and the trauma
To
that
do
those parents must feel, and the bloody duty of care at all.
Yeah. Well, they
What
released
state
it,
was this in again?
Oklahoma, and they released it. So the crime scene was just
99, you
open.
said, wasn't it?
Yeah, they hadn't taped it off or anything. It was all, yeah.
Fucking hell.
So the sheer anguish of having to do so with no assurance that authorities had thoroughly combed the wreckage. When the State Bureau failed to list that the girls were missing as juveniles on the national database, Lorraine took matters into her own hand, creating missing person posters and launching a campaign to find Lauria and Ashley. The search efforts persisted, fueled by determination of their loved ones only. Amidst the search, glimpses into the Freeman's family past began to surface. Danny Freeman had been in a bitter feud with the Craig County Sheriff following the death of his son, Shane, Ashley's 17-year-old brother, a year prior.
Ooh.
Shane, known for his troublesome ways, had been evading authorities, living in a stolen truck until a deputy encountered him. Tragically, the encounter ended in Shane being fatally shot after he brandished a gun. In the year 2000, so this was right before New Year's of the millennia, In 2000, a new sheriff took office in Craig County, pledging to crack the case of the Freeman murders and the disappearance of Lauria and Ashley. So I'd say that there was this whole case just put, and everything that happened in it, just rightly so, put this whole sense of untrust in the sheriff. You know how they elect sheriffs in
Yeah.
America in those towns? So a new one's been elected. Confidential informants, including individuals from jail with insider knowledge, stepped forward with leads. These leads all seem to lead into the grim underbelly of towns scattered across the Ozark Plains of northeastern Oklahoma, where addicts, dealers, and meth cooks operated. So they still have no idea what the fuck's happened to these girls or what the fuck happened that night. Numerous individuals claim to have spotted signs that the girls were still alive just days after the fire, allegedly seen at a New Year's Eve gathering in a meth house in the neighboring Ottawa County. It's baffling how someone could witness such a thing and not take action. This is my own notes. It's baffling how someone could witness such a thing and not take action when you'd see, oh, I saw those girls. What the fuck are they doing in a meth house at a New Year's Eve party? Even anonymously tipping off the authorities or whatever. Former meth cook Randall Cowboy Madewell chimed in, suggesting it was a botched drug deal that resulted in the parents' death and the abduction of the girls. The party reportedly took place at the residence of Chester Shadwick, a well-known local meth cook located in Wyandotte, just 50 k's east of Welch, where the trailer was, where the Freemans lived, Freeman's hometown. Another potential site was a rundown dwelling of father and son meth dealers and cooks, Paul Glover Sr. and Paul Glover Jr., nestled along a bend in the Neosho River. Witnesses came forward signing affidavits claiming that they'd seen videotapes depicting the girls being subjected to assault. One witness vividly described a scene of horror, recounting how he had seen a young girl with dirty blonde hair, bound by the wrists and on her knees, being sexually assaulted in a home recognizable by its distinctive rocked wall at Shadwick's place.
Oh my
Shockingly,
God.
upon later viewing a TV report about the missing girls, the witness identified Lauria Bible as the girl in the disturbing footage. In 2001, so now a whole year's gone by and more, law enforcement officers conducted searches at the property at the Shadwick and the Glovers, unearthing videotapes, a roll of film, traces of blood on the carpet, and evidence of a meth lab.
Oh my
However,
God.
none of these findings seem to be linked to Lauria and Ashley, and the blood discovered was determined to be non-human. Another year passes, and we're in 2002, and a chilling development arose when a Texas inmate sitting on death row wrote to a newspaper confessing to the girl's murder. Tony Lynn Sells, a notorious serial killer known as the Railways Killer, had already been convicted of murdering a 13-year-old girl in Del Rio, Texas, just a day after Lauria and Ashley vanished. Authorities transported Sells from his Texas prison, Mahash, to Oklahoma County roads, where he purportedly claimed to have disposed of the girls' bodies. However, no evidence was found to corroborate his claims, leading many to believe he was simply seeking further notoriety for his heinous crimes.
Please investigate that shit, please. Like, don't just dismiss. My God, man.
As the fifth anniversary of the Freeman murders approached, so 5 years now, Alabama authorities made a significant arrest. Jeremy Jones, a meth user hailing from Ottawa County, just east of Welch, was apprehended for rape, murder, and arson. His horrifying crimes including assaulting a girl in a mobile trailer before setting it ablaze. During questioning, Jones confessed to carrying a heavy burden of guilt over 2 girls in Oklahoma.
Oh my God.
In a chilling interview, we're shown a photo of a pretty young girl, in quotes, Jones callously remarked, "Yeah, but they ain't pretty when they're crying." Notably, Jones was arrested on the morning of the Freeman trailer fire, found intoxicated and in possession of a syringe just 15 minutes away from Welch. Already facing a death sentence for the mobile murder, Jones claimed to have disposed of the girls' bodies near Glenina, Kansas, approximately 60 k's northeast of Welch, an area marked by old mines. So it's just, this area is just full of all these holes and mines and shit like that. In 2005, Jay and Lorena Bible traveled to Galena as authorities searched for the remains, but it turned out to be another false confession, likely from another killer seeking publicity or reprieve from death row. So now we're getting to December 2015. So a decade has passed, during which Lorena Bible continues her relentless pursuit of answers. A tip is received through the Bible's Facebook page, Find Lauria Bible, pointed to another convicted killer and drug associate of Danny Freeman's, Charles Kreider. Lorena obtained permission to search Kreider's former property. Why would you need permission? Just go with me and search the fucking property.
Oh my, there's like all these tips and all this information coming in, and no one is checking it out.
They're allowing her to go do it herself.
What the fuck?
Under-resourced. Blame who would have been president at the time. Blame that president. We're under-resourced. But despite exhaustive efforts, including searches of a well and an old basement, no significant discoveries were made.
That was the FBI, please. They normally come in when there's missing people.
We need Dana Scully and fucking Clarice Starling on the case. The frustration is palpable. Why aren't the authorities taking more proactive steps? And it's heartbreaking to witness the continued anguish endured by the grieving parents. That's what people were saying. Then, 18 years after they lost their daughter, in April 2018, the Bibles were summoned to a media conference by Craig County District Attorney Matt Ballard. Police believed they had finally cracked the case. He announced that charges had been filed against a man, Ronnie Dean Busick.
So hang on, can I just say, so they weren't told anything, they were just summoned to a media conference.
Summoned to a media conference.
So no, hey, look, we might have found the guy, we'll have a huge development, let's talk about it in secret, we're going to have a media conference tomorrow, let's tell you where we're at, let's give you an update on the case of your missing daughter.
I think they may have told him that they've got information on the case, come to the media conference, but I don't think they gave him the full fucking download briefing of this is what we think.
Jesus.
He announced that charges had been filed against a man, Ronnie Dean Busick. Busick, who was 66, was charged with acting in concert with Phil Welch and Dave Pennington in killing the Freemans, abducting the girls, and keeping them alive for up to 7 days. The three men were welders and meth addicts who had been living in Pitcher, now a ghost town among thousands of miles of disused lead and zinc mines, 30 k's northwest of Welch. Warren Philip Welch II had died aged 61 in 2007 and Pennington in 2015, aged 56. So there's one of the trio left. It's fucking so annoying when they die before.
It's so bad. I hate it. It makes me so cranky.
Ballard cited the evidence of Polaroid photographs of the girls in their final days, which was seen by multiple people, and the three men's many statements to multiple people about the crime. The Polaroids were kept, like a trophy, inside Welch's leather briefcase and passed around the ringleader's circle of drug dealers, one affidavit states. It's just what a whole group of fucking grubby men that just don't even fucking do anything about the fact that this has happened to these two girls. The girls were allegedly tied up in a trailer house in Pitcher, where they were then raped and tortured. In some photos, Welch was lying next to the teens. After the conference, Lorena and Jay Bible fronted the podium, both in tears. We're not finished. I will not stop until we bring the girls home, the mother said. There are people out there who are afraid to talk, but someone knows where these girls are, and for me, I need to bring my daughter home. The affiants, which are people who make the affidavits, mostly girlfriends or acquaintances of the three men, said the killers bragged about the murder and threatened anyone who might go to the police.
Jesus Christ.
Now you'll love this bit too. Welsh, a fiery holy roller church preacher, when he wasn't dealing meth, threatened to kill one woman and her children and throw them into a pit in Pitcher with the missing girls. And this drives me so nuts watching true crime things. The amount of fucking murderers, adulterers, and abusers that are all preachers in the end, that hiding behind their do good preachy ways fucking drives me insane. It's so fucking hypocritical, and how influential they are and how people just follow them and shit like that. Just makes me so annoyed. Yeah. And judging everyone else for this shit, and then in behind the scenes they're doing meth and fucking raping and abducting girls. According to another affidavit, the teenagers were kidnapped, tied up, and raped and held in a mobile home in Pitcher for a matter of days before being strangled. No house is at that address today. Authorities conducted a search of an abandoned cellar located at the former residence of Phil Welch, believed to be the orchestrator of the crime, but their efforts yielded no results. Ronnie Busick, facing 4 charges of first-degree murder, opted for a plea deal, admitting guilt to withholding crucial information regarding the case and being an accessory to first-degree murder. And like, what's a plea deal? He's the only one left out of the 3 of them. As part of his sentencing, Busick received a 10-year prison term, coupled with 5 years of probation. The possibility of his release hinged on whether he could provide information leading to the discovery of the girl's remains. Despite a thorough search of the cellar in Pitcher last year turning up empty and extensive investigation into numerous mine shafts in the vicinity.
Extensive investigation, my ass.
Well, this is now like 15 years later, so maybe they have upped their game a little bit. No breakthroughs have been made. Busick has since said from prison that all crimes began with a debt involving 1 to 2 ounces of meth owed by Danny Freeman to Welch. An ounce is 28 grams, so it's like 280 points of meth. Investigators have reconstructed the events of the fatal night, suggesting that Welch, Pennington, and Busick arrived at their property with the intention of confronting Danny Freeman about a debt. Welch, concealed beneath his trench coat, was reportedly armed with a loaded shotgun. Meanwhile, Freeman had a caliber Magnum revolver within reach on the table. As tensions escalated during the confrontation, Freeman reached for the weapon, resulting in a fatal gunshot fired by Welch. So that's how he killed Freeman, the father.
Yep.
He went into the bedroom, shot Kathy Freeman before dragging her husband's body into the same room in an attempt to not leave any witnesses. Now, this is going to break your heart. Meanwhile, hearing the gunshots, the girls had escaped out of the back door and lay hidden in the ground in an open field. The men ransack the house for money, drugs, etc., and then when they're done, they go out and just set the place on fire. During this time, the girls see the men and run to them for help, not realizing that they were the attackers.
Oh my God.
The men chuck the girls into the truck and drive to that guy's mobile home 40 k's away. And the whole circumstance around this thing is just heartbreaking for me. Like, why did it have to be that night of all nights? It's her birthday night, her friends over there. How they get out, and then they get out and survive. And if they just stayed down, they would have survived if they didn't do it. But they saw these men, thought they needed help, got up and run to them, and then fucking a whole fortnight of horrors was just unleashed onto them. The poor fucking things. Like, no one deserves that type of shit. There, the girls were tied up and socks were put in their mouth, and they were shut up by Welch with meth. Despite the men being on the police radar as linked to the girls' disappearance, they were not interrogated about the crimes before their deaths. Busick is in ill health and keen to minimise his role in the crimes. He has not been able to tell police where the girls' remains are. As Lorraine Bible said after he was charged, hopefully I'll get to look him right in the eye and say to him, tell me where my fucking child is. Way back when Lauria was leaving. So they still haven't found the bodies after all that shit. And way back when Lauria was leaving her family home to go to her best friend Ashley's house to celebrate her 16th birthday with her, the father said to her, her last words to him were, I love you, Daddy. And then he says, you don't expect them to be the last words you hear. But out the door they went, and I didn't think anything of it. And the mother's also said it's the last thing you expect when your daughter goes to a friend's for a sleepover. So yeah.
Oh my God, and they still haven't found them.
Bodies haven't been found as of today. And yeah, just terrible, isn't it?
And is the other guy, the alive guy, is he still in jail?
He's still in jail. So, I mean, it was 10 years, 10 years in 2015. So he'd still be in jail today and then parole in after for 5 or some shit.
5 if he had given the whereabouts. He'd get out, and 5 if he could say where they were.
Which is just fucking terrible as well. How can you give anyone a plea deal to allow them to go out if they tell them where the body is after what they did to these 3 girls? 2 girls, sorry.
Oh my God, that is horrific.
I know. There's on Foxtel, there's like a 4-episode special on it, but we watched it on People Investigation.
Oh, wow. That is awful.
Oh, those poor girls. Thinking that, imagine like that whole feeling of hearing the gunshots, running outside, seeing the thing get on fire that just absolutely became a inferno, and then running into the arms of the people who did it, and then just having 2 weeks to endure being shot up with meth, gagged, raped, tortured, abused, and then strangled in the end. You'd just be thinking, what the actual fuck?
Oh my God. And then when I do mine, you're going to see the contrast of, what the courts are capable of. Um,
In a
when
better
there's
way?
no, in a terrible way,
Oh,
when there's
God.
media attention and opinions and, no evidence.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fucked. That's awful. How sad.
Yeah.
So, the disappearance of Timothy Wiltsey. Timothy William, Timmy Whitsey, was born in 1985. I'll do that again. Timothy William Wiltsey, Timmy, was born in 1985. He was a 5-year-old boy from South Amboy, New
Oh,
Jersey,
no.
United States, whose mother, Michelle Lodzinski, told police that he went missing from a carnival in nearby Sayreville on May 25th, 1991. Police searches of the park where the carnival had been held failed to locate Wiltsey. Almost 11 months later, his remains were discovered across the Raritan River in the marshlands of nearby Edison, near an office park where Lodzinski had once worked.
What year was this, sorry?
This was 1992 that his remains were missing, but he went missing in 1991.
Okay.
Due to changes in how her account of her son's disappearance and her unemotional demeanor on the few occasions she spoke publicly about the case, she began to be seen as the prime suspect.
That's so annoying, that thing. Like, and I don't know what the story is, but like when they just automatically, and especially in the 90s, and again, we don't know the outcome with John Bonet, but that whole thing about the way someone reacts and it's not to the T of what they should be dramatically doing. People react differently to
Yeah, it's
things
like
all the time. It's,
convicted already,
yeah,
guilty.
she could be completely numb.
The perception intensified later in the decade when she was convicted of first staging her own kidnapping and then again several years later of stealing a laptop from a former employer. Prosecutors did not bring charges against her until the 2010s, by which time she had remarried, had 2 more children, and moved to Florida, where she was eventually arrested in 2014. Wiltsey's remains were so decomposed when discovered that the cause of death could not be determined, and it was unclear when anyone besides Lodzinski had last seen him, making it difficult to connect her to any foul play or establish when and how it had taken place.
So this is the mother.
This is the mother. Middlesex County prosecutors believe that a blanket found near the body was one that babysitters had seen in her house while the boy was alive. In 2016, after a trial that saw the jury foreman dismissed for doing independent research, she was convicted and sentenced to 30 years without parole. The
Hang on.
conviction was sustained on appeal.
So was the jury foreman done after they released the verdict?
Yeah.
And she still had her
Oh,
own,
sorry. He was dismissed during the
the
trial,
trial.
and they tried to get a mistrial, but they said, nah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Chill, bro.
Yeah.
Chill out and have a barbie.
We're just gonna proceed and we're gonna convict you. It's cool. Don't worry about this dude who was on the
With no
internet
evidence.
and looking at stuff and not doing, and it was like 20 years after. So he
Wow.
was discovered
So,
in 1991 and she was arrested in 2014.
wow. Okay.
Wiltsey was born August 6, 1985 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, to George Wiltsey of nearby Walker and Michelle Lodzinski of Lawrence Harbor, New Jersey. The two had met the year before when 16-year-old Lodzinski had come to visit her brother. They began dating and Michelle became pregnant. 6 months after giving birth, Lodzinski returned to her home with her infant son as his father had become abusive. She also disliked the isolation of Iowa. George had nothing to do with his son. At Lodzinski's request, he later testified she returned any mouse he sent to his son. after Timothy went back to New Jersey with his mother and did not pay any child support. So his mail was returned, allegedly, but he also didn't pay any child support. So, stand up guy right there.
Yeah.
Lodzinski and her son lived with her sister and husband in South Amboy for 2 years before she moved out to the first of 3 apartments in the same town that they continued to live in. She worked at a variety of low-paying jobs available to a single mother who had dropped out of high school in her teens with minimal education and skills. She declined to seek public assistance, instead accepting mother from her father, and at some point she was working 2 jobs. She sometimes described herself to friends as a weekend mum. Her landlady described her as a hardworking single mother. And I think she said as a weekend mum because she worked so much and relied on others to take care of her son, her little 5-year-old, because she was doing it pretty tough.
Single mom works 2 jobs.
She often
never stops.
She often relied on friends, family, or paid sitters to watch her son while she was at work, but sometimes those arrangements fell through and she took him to work with her. Employers and co-workers recalled that she frequently came in late. On other occasions, when she had to come home late, she forgot to call her sitters. In January 1990, Lodzinski's sister and brother-in-law, of whom she had relied extensively for childcare, moved to Florida, greatly complicating her arrangements. At one point, when Wiltsey was 4, a brother in Minnesota took him for 2 months so she could save money for his school tuition.
Oh, bitch.
Her friends and family recall that she was devoted to her son, taking him to the dentist regularly, taking him on camping trips and other vacations, and saving up enough money to send him to kindergarten at a private school when he reached school age.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, she sounds like someone who definitely would fucking slaughter a kid.
Once he was in school, she helped him with his homework and regularly brought him new clothes. He had attendance problems. He was absent 25 days that year and came in late on another 63. Great record keeping, guys.
Yeah.
Wiltsey was an issue when Lodzinski and 2 men she became romantically involved with during this period. He was an issue, one of whom she briefly became engaged to. While both of them said later they liked both her and her son, they felt both of them were too young themselves to commit to being his stepfather. The former fiancée did not believe Lodzinski was a properly attentive mother to Wiltsey. She impressed him as relating to him more like an older sister and was not surprised when the boy required 72 stitches to his face after being bitten by a dog next door, as he had warned her about letting him play outside in the backyard alone with the dog when he was loose. Great parenting advice.
Yeah, thanks.
Her brother's girlfriend was also critical of some aspects of her parenting. On one occasion, she was out late and she was sitting for the child, and Lodzinski called and asked her to let the boy leave with a man the girlfriend did not know. After she refused, Lodzinski returned home and forced Wiltsey into a car driven by the boyfriend at the time. She believed Wiltsey was terrified of the boyfriend and told police she suspected him after the body was found. On the witness stand, he denied any involvement in the death. Disappearance. On May 24th, 1991, maybe I should just cut that because it looks like I'm reading from a script, doesn't it?
The disappearance part, yeah.
Does the first bit sound like I'm reading from a script?
Don't really. I mean, we both read. It just sounds like you're reading notes anyway.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, don't say disappearance.
Yeah. On May 24th, 1991, Lodzinski was planning for the end of school year and the summer ahead.
So this is back when he disappeared.
Correct. She took him out shopping for new clothes to complement the kindergarten graduation gown he had already gotten, and made plans to visit her sister in Florida and also a visit to Disney World after the school year ended. That evening, she told a neighbor about her plans to take him, along with her brother's infant niece, to South Amboy Elks Club Carnival in nearby Sayreville's Kennedy Park the next day. The neighbor and the niece's mother both recall that the two were in a good mood and looking forward to the upcoming events. The following day, the two were seen by a neighbor leaving their house around 11 a.m. This was the last time that Timmy was seen alive by anyone who knew him other than his mother. She told law enforcement later that they went into a park in nearby Holmdel during the afternoon where they played kickball, walked along the lake, and visited the petting zoo. Without picking up her niece or calling the girl's mother, they went straight to the carnival and arrived there shortly after 7 p.m. Some unspecified time later, she encountered another niece with a friend. When they saw her looking around urgently, she told them she had lost sight of Timmy when she left him waiting at a carnival ride line as she went to buy a soda. The three then went to report the incident to the police on site. The carnival was immediately shut down. Police officers, firefighters, volunteers, and trained dogs immediately launched an exhaustive search of the carnival grounds in the surrounding area, but he was not found, nor was any evidence that he'd been in the area. So at this point, no one has seen him except for the neighbor when they were leaving to go. So they went to the park first. They played in the park based on the mother's testimony. Then they went to the carnival. Her niece saw her at the carnival frantic, searching for him, calling out his name, but no one has seen her at the carnival with him at this point, or no one's come forward to say that they have.
So they were suggesting basically that she's murdered and ditched the body and then gone to the carnival and gone, where's my boy?
But I guess, yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
So hang on. A firefighter who drove Lodzinski back to her house to get some items that the dogs could use to get Timmy's scent, recalled that when she stopped at the bar, her then boyfriend worked out to tell him what had happened. She was crying and speaking incoherently. The police detective who took her home for the night after the search was suspended at 2 a.m., wrote in his report that she was tearful. Her sister, who she informed of Timmy's disappearance on the phone in the next couple of hours, says she cried. The next morning after the search resumed, another detective at the station, when she brought clothes for her son to wear if he were found, recalls her demeanor as being distraught. Over the next few days, police interviewed carnival workers and visited to see if anyone had seen Timmy at the carnival. One worker said that shortly after 7 p.m. that evening, she had seen a boy wearing a red tank top and red printed shorts, similar to the clothes that Lodzinski said Timmy was wearing. Came up to her stand and got called away by a woman. Roughly 10 minutes later, she saw the same woman walking around calling out Timmy or Jimmy and looking concerned.
So that someone's seen him now at the carnival.
But saw another woman come up and start talking to her. So saw Lodzinski, Michelle, saw the boy dressed in red as per the description, and then saw another woman come up and talk to her.
Yeah.
And then shortly after saw her walking around calling out for him. She identified Timmy in a group picture, and upon seeing Lodzinski in person, she thought she may have been the woman that she saw at the stand. Another carnival worker recalled helping a boy with a tank top, shorts, and sneakers wearing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on them off his ride around 7:15. He later told police it was definitely the boy he saw on posters. 3 teenagers recalled telling a boy, accompanied by 2 men and a woman, in Ninja Turtle sneakers, to watch out for broken glass on a pathway as they were leaving the carnival. The day following the disappearance, the police searched her car, still parked in the carnival, and found nothing that would help. 2 days later, the county prosecutor's office searched her house and found nothing. A similar FBI analysis of garbage turned over by her landlord was also fruitless. Police arranged to have a pen register tap placed on her home telephone to record the numbers of any incoming calls. So at this point, comparing it to your story where the police literally were like, the girls must have done it in the beginning, messed up the bodies and everything. Everyone's pretty much like, yeah, we need to watch this woman. She's done it. Lodzinski, according to those regularly in contact with her during this time, was greatly affected by her son's unexplained absence from her life. She told her sister she could not sleep or eat. Bruno, her boyfriend, recalled her saying she could not hold anything down. Within 2 weeks, she moved out of her house to avoid the media attention. Everyone is waiting to see a grieving mother on TV break down, crying, hysterical, because the public, they thrive on that, she said. I'm not going to do it. And then she got totally crucified for that.
And she would have been fucking trying to be strong after all these years of what's happened to her missing son. and shit
So
like that.
New Jersey would have been a different place in terms of where your true crime started. What was it? What was the state again?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. So it was a similar time, right? So it was 99 for you, wasn't it? This is 91.
Yeah.
But it's, closer to New York. It's a bigger, bustling place.
And she was a young mum, wasn't she? She was like, what?
Exactly. George Wiltsey, at home in Iowa, and still uninvolved in his son's life, was soon eliminated as a suspect in any potential wrongdoing. The case was televised twice on America's Most Wanted, and Timmy's photograph was circulated on thousands of missing child flyers and milk cartons. So there was some inconsistencies in her story, allegedly.
What, 20 fucking 4 years later?
She reported to investigators that she and her son had spent time at Holmdel Park during the afternoon before driving to the evening carnival. According to the park police, where she claimed to have parked was closed that day. Police said at the time they could find no one that had seen her son that night. One witness later testified, "I spoke with her and she did not have a child with her. I was very upset. There was a child missing and there was no child." The last confirmed sighting of
Hence the
Wiltsey by
child's missing.
anyone other than Lodzinski was the neighbor who saw him that morning, except for all the people who said that they saw a child fitting that description. And the woman at the stand, she said she saw the photo and she said, yeah, it was him.
Yeah.
But she wasn't sure who the woman was.
Yeah.
She couldn't identify the woman. More than a week later, at a police interview, Lodzinski claimed two men with a knife had taken her son and intimidated her into silence. So remember when I said there was also a sighting of a boy that matched the description with another woman and two men leaving the carnival, and he said, "Hey, watch out for that glass.
Yeah.
Don't step on the glass." And he was wearing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sneakers. And it had intimidated her into silence. Pressed for further details, she walked out and challenged police to charge her. You would be very frustrated, though, I think. They're focusing on you and blaming you, and everyone's against you, and you're trying to give them information about what happened. And they're just challenging you constantly, and your son's missing. You're like, dude, go
That's
after
what you're
my
caring
son.
about. Yeah.
So she left the police station. Later that day, she returned with her sister and friend and recanted the story as the police began to consider her a leading suspect. Bullshit. They already thought she was a suspect.
Yeah. That's why they weren't fucking looking anywhere else.
She returned again the following day and during a long and confrontational interview gave a third story that two men and a woman had taken her son after offering to watch him briefly while she got sodas so he could keep his place in line for a ride. She claimed to have known the woman as Ellen, a local go-go dancer and customer of the bank where she had previously worked as a teller. The FBI was unable to locate the woman. The police arranged with Bruno, so this is the boyfriend at the time, to call her while they listened on, where he challenged her on her story. She said she would not talk with him about it over the phone and asked instead that they discuss it in person. Okay, so the following day they met in Bruno's car, the boyfriend's car, where a microphone was planted for the police to listen in. She reiterated the last account she had given police about Ellen and her companions abducting Timmy, adding that she had not told that story at first because she was afraid people would think her a bad mother for leaving her son with a woman she barely knew, even briefly. It was 91, man. She was at a carnival with people around everywhere. She wanted to go get him a drink and he was waiting in line, and a 5-year-old pulling them from a line to get a drink. And
you let other parents spank your children in that day.
Totally. The following day, she was interviewed again by the police for 5 hours. She repeated the Ellen story, but this time amended it. In this version, one of the men with Ellen had put the knife to her throat. Challenged on this version, she again entered the interview and told police to charge her if that's what they wanted to do. She was then taken back for further questioning. She told the same story, adding that she had been told her son would be returned to her unharmed in a month if she kept quiet. When the interview ended at 9 p.m., Lodzinski, who had not eaten in 12 hours, was taken to the hospital by friends as she appeared to be suffering a mental breakdown. Another interview by an investigator with the county prosecutor's office at Lodzinski's home 5 days later had a similar outcome. The investigator recalled her as increasingly hostile, giving short answers while retelling the same story. She then burst into tears, saying that her son was the most important thing in the world to her.
Bless.
Before Timmy's birthday in early August, which led to renewed media interest, Lodzinski went to visit her sister in Florida for 2 weeks, where she sought counseling. I'm not going to go into the physical evidence because there really isn't anything except for a blanket that was found later on. But
what's the blanket?
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to go into the fucking blanket.
Oh no, you don't have to. But what is the blanket?
Okay. On October 26th that year, school teacher Dan O'Malley was bird watching and exploring marshlands beside the business park in Edison. He discovered a child's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sneaker. So this is October that year, and he went missing in May 1991.
Okay.
Recalling that Timmy had been described as wearing them when last seen and thinking it unlikely that a child would have been walking or playing in the area so far from any houses, he took it to the police. The sneaker was shown to Lodzinski, who told them it did not look like her son's.
Okay.
It was then stored as evidence. After weeks with no word from the police, O'Malley reported the sneaker to a local newspaper, resulting in a front page story and FBI forensic testing. The newspaper report of a possible break in the case led Lodzinski to call police again and say that the sneaker might indeed have been her son's. She had earlier provided the box the shoes had come in, and the sneaker matched the specifications on the box label as to what shoes had come in it. A search of the area in November yielded no further evidence. Forensic testing of the shoe was inconclusive. In March 1992, Ron Berkowitz of the FBI, who had replaced the agent originally assigned to the case, interviewed her again, who this time she had counsel present. She reiterated the Ellen story she had previously told. Blavatsky recalled her as doing so without any outward emotion. But she'd be scarred by this point. Do you know what I mean? Like, her child's missing. She's a single mom. The following month, he interviewed O'Malley, the school teacher who found the shoe, who showed him where the sneaker was found and agreed it was unlikely to have come there from a local child. Upon re-interviewing Lodzinski's friends, the FBI agent learned that 3 years earlier, she had worked for 6 months at a fulfillment center and had taken to frequently walking around the complex within a few blocks of where the sneaker was found. Information that she had not included in her employment history that she had given earlier in the investigation. The next day, when the FBI agent asked for employment history, she included the fulfillment company. I know I'm sort of like sounding like I'm on her side, but sometimes I think when you think about employment, sometimes you leave out little tiny things where you were working for a time and you think, oh shit, oh yeah, that's right, I was working at that fish and chip shop for like a month or something like that.
Yeah. You forget that shit, even especially when you do tax return.
Yeah.
I've been burnt twice in my whole life. It was like, oh fuck, I didn't declare this because I forgot about it. It was a month.
So in April 1992, law enforcement teams conducted a full search of the area near the centre and near where the shoe was found. They quickly located another sneaker in Timmy's size, roughly 150 feet from where the first sneaker had been found.
And it matched the sneaker.
With a nearby pillowcase. But at this time, they've only got his belongings, right? So whoever had taken him could have discarded them. It doesn't necessarily mean it's hers.
Yeah.
2 hours later, though, about 170 meters away, they found a skull and 10 other bones. And then they dredged the nearby bottom of the bottom of a nearby creek near pieces of clothing. They found pieces of clothing, a pillowcase, a Ninja Turtles balloon, and a 10 by 3 foot blue and white blanket that was all buried in the creek bone near where the bones were found. Timmy's identity was confirmed through dental records.
Bless.
I know, it's really sad. A funeral mass was held for him in 1992. Lodzinski appeared shaken during the service and required the physical support of her parents. As the years passed, the case grew cold, and Timmy's disappearance remained shrouded in mystery. Lodzinski, the grieving mother, moved to Florida with her 2 children and new husband, hoping to escape the constant reminder of Timmy's absence.
Bless.
Life in Florida was not easy for Michelle Lodzinski. She struggled with the weight of grief and guilt and haunted by the questions of what had happened to her beloved son. Over the years, Michelle faced numerous challenges, both personal and legal. She battled addiction and financial difficulties, all while grappling with the unresolved trauma of Timmy's disappearance. But through it all, she maintained her innocence, steadfastly denying any involvement in her son's fate. However, amidst her struggles, Michelle made bizarre claims, including one particularly strange allegation that she was kidnapped by the FBI against her will.
God.
These claims only added to the cloud of suspicion surrounding her, raising questions about her credibility and mental state. She was also accused of convicted of stealing a laptop from her current employer to give as a Christmas gift.
Whoopee.
Fast forward to July 2004, over 2 decades since Timmy vanished, and a shocking development unfolds. Michelle Lodzinski is arrested in Florida and charged with the murder of her own son. Prosecutors allege that Michelle had killed Timmy and disposed of his body shortly after his disappearance, a chilling accusation that sent shockwaves through the nation. The trial that followed was nothing short of dramatic, with emotional testimonies and compelling evidence presented by both the prosecution and defense. The courtroom became a battleground as the truth hung in balance. Among the pivotal moments in the trial was the testimony of Michelle's niece, who claimed that Michelle had confided in her about harming Timmy. This was a niece that ran into them at the carnival and said that she never saw Timmy anywhere, and just her walking around calling out for him.
Yeah.
This revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom and provided prosecutors with a key piece of evidence against Michelle.
It's hearsay.
100%. Despite her conviction, Michelle Lodzinski maintained her innocence and pursued multiple appeals over the years.
Pursued.
Each appeal brought renewed hope for Michelle and her supporters, but ultimately the courts upheld her conviction, citing the overwhelming evidence against her. There was no evidence.
It's all hearsay.
There wasn't a
shit.
shred of evidence. Nothing.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear what's happened.
With items that he had in his home. That was it. Following her conviction in May 2016, Michelle Lodzinski was sentenced to serve a lengthy prison term, 30 years.
And meanwhile, that guy that fucking was involved with the 2 chicks getting kidnapped and raped and drugged and got 10.
And they hounded this woman, hounded her. She would spend her days behind bars, reflecting on the events that led to her son's disappearance and her subsequent incarceration. Fast forward to 2021, and Michelle is released from prison after her conviction was overturned. Yeah, but she's been in jail for
I know,
5
but
years.
I was wondering what the fuck. I thought she was still in jail. I didn't know where this was going. I was wondering. I was like, fuck.
We weren't going to give up. It was a long ordeal, but
so
I'm
how
very
did she get
happy.
It overturned?
I'm going to say that in a minute.
All right. Look, I've just been very anxious to hear what the fuck's happening to this poor bitch.
We weren't going to give up. It was a long ordeal, but I'm very happy the court ultimately came out where they did in the end, her attorney issued in a statement. The court ruled that the county prosecutor's office did not offer enough evidence to support the conviction of the first-degree crime.
Does she get any compensation?
Well, I couldn't find anything about that. But the court ruled, and this is in 2021, that the county prosecutor's office did not offer enough evidence to support the conviction of first-degree murder.
And so they don't know who the fuck or what the fuck's gone down.
Nah, and it took them 20 years before they actually decided to,
let's just nab this bitch.
Charge her.
Yeah.
So they kept on it. They didn't do that for your victims.
Yeah.
They were like, oh no.
You go search. You go sift through the ashes, see if your daughter's there.
And then they were wrong. In the end, there was absolutely no evidence. All there was hearsay of people were like saying, oh, we don't think she was a great mom.
Yeah, and that
You know?
niece, I want to know what the fucking story is with her.
Well, how this came to my attention was because I was watching an account of the niece talking about the night at the carnival on a true crime special, probably about 2 years ago. And
Really?
then it popped into my head the other day for some. And I remember when she was talking about it, basically saying that she was certain that Michelle Lodzinski had murdered Timmy. Um, I was like, and you're a niece? That seems
Mm.
very harsh. What do you know? And so then I went and searched it and looked it up
And the
on
niece was at the
Wikipedia.
carnival.
Yes. So the niece, I think, was a teenager, but then 20 years later, she was like in her 30s, and
Yeah.
she was on the trial on the witness stand, giving testimony against her aunt, basically saying that she was a babysitter and that she'd mentioned harming her.
And what
She
motive
mentioned
did
that
the
she
mother
wanted.
have? Was there even any motive or anything? No.
I think they speculated at times that maybe the boyfriend wasn't keen to be a dad. So maybe she had
Yeah.
murdered him.
That just
But
seems very odd if you're working so many jobs, saving up for him to go to private fucking school, all this shit.
yeah, yeah, that you would just one day be like, yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
done.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. No, I don't need a kid. Yeah, I'll kill him. Do you know what really I always think about with cases like this? And with the one that I did as well, is like when they're children, it's like it could go two ways. You just never know where that child's life could have ended up. They could have cured
Mm,
cancer.
mm.
They could have been a fucking dictator. You know,
You've
you never
said this
know.
before. I remember you saying this
You
another
just
time on a
don't know
podcast when we've talked about a child
what
going missing.
potential that child actually would have had or what
Yeah,
contribution they could have made to the world. They could have done
absolutely.
fuck all. They could have created a podcast series. I can't, who knows? But they could have fucking,
But
yeah,
you
it's
know what
sad.
really bothers me is the justice system, and I'm not going to taint the US with the brush because we've had some stories in Australia where the verdicts have been
It's
terrible.
in the system, isn't
And
there?
then there's this one where they've got absolutely no evidence. And that's the thing, like,
They
I
just need
think
to close the case.
the whole point of the justice system is that it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And if there's no
It's meant to be
evidence,
just.
you can't just be like, yeah, sure, we're totally going to convict them. There's not a stitch of evidence against this person, but we think we
Yeah,
feel really
yeah,
strongly that they have done it.
yeah. It's like the Amanda Knox case where I think it's in France, is it? I don't know, wherever it was, or Italy, and the sheriff or whatever they call
Mm.
them in that area. This is what I actually think happened. She was having a threesome with these guys, yada, 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 yada. They've put this whole story together and they're like, no, that's actually what happened. You don't know, cunt. You
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
don't know. But then you look at it from the other side where they've got all this compelling evidence and then they keep getting it dismissed because the
Mm,
lawyers are really good on the other side and they're like, you
yes.
can't use that.
Yeah,
You can't use that.
that is the thing. Like lawyers can be great and shit like that. And it's just like when you're a lawyer defending someone who's is guilty, but you
Mm.
have to do your job and try and prove them innocent or get them off. It's just like, where is the fucking morals in that? Well, anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. We hope we perked up your Tuesday afternoon, morning,
I
night.
know someone who will love this. Shout out to Ebbs.
Ebony Van applause.
She loves our
Um,
brutal true crimes. You especially love Bino's brutal true crimes, don't you, Ebbs?
I hope I delivered tonight for you, girl. Um, but yeah, thanks for listening. It has been a bit of a downer,
I
hasn't it,
know.
this episode?
Super
Um,
downer.
here's to more wine and
Mm.
look forward to delivering you more uplifting content in our pop culture episode next week.
Yes, yes. And what's that episode about?
That episode is about Australian iconic movies. We do two
Movies from
each.
Australia.
Yes, ones that we
Skies
love.
is a little bit drunk.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one. We'll try and keep that one under an hour and a half, but we'll see how we go. Good night, you stupid bitches.
Good night, stupid bitches. Good night.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. Mm-hmm. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.